So I try to give back as much as I possibly can, without, of course, destroying myself with, having no money at all.
But even though there's only a limited amount of that jackpot, isn't it possible that all those people, or at least some of those people that didn't win, could make that much money and more doing other things?
Sure. Anything is possible. That's the wonders of the world that we live in, is that everything is possible. We just have to believe it is so, and then it is. You always hear the whole thing about the secrets, and you know what? The secret has always been there. It's always been available to everybody. It's just somebody got smart and said, it's time to put this in a book and call it The Secret so that we can make money off of it.
So it sounds, The Secret is, it talks about the law of attraction and how, what kind of energy you put out into the world is what you attract back to you. And someone actually, this is sort of along the lines of the law of attraction, and someone emailed the show at spiritualshow@gmail.com. Again, you're listening to Synchronicity on 101.9 FM CITR. If you want to get on the air, the number to call is 604-822-2487. We're talking with Bunky Bartlett, who is a Wiccan priest who won a large jackpot in the Mega Millions jackpot lottery down in the States. And one of the questions that was sent in is, did you ever have doubt about winning? And if so, what did you do to remove that doubt?
Nope, never had a doubt. And that is the key to successfully working magic and changing reality, is that you cannot have doubt. When you work a spell or you do a ritual or you do a meditation, the key to its success is to not doubt. You have to have 100% faith that what you've done will manifest. And at any moment that you doubt what it is that you've done, then your spell has failed. And that's the key. I always tell my students that picture your intention as a beautiful garden with flowers. Doubt is the weeds that keep popping up in that garden. So on a daily basis, you have to go and tend your garden, pull out those weeds. And those weeds can come from either yourself or other people. If you go out and say to people, oh, I just cast a spell to win the lottery, and they say, oh, you're a fool, it's never going to happen, forget it. You hear that, and the minute you hear that, a weed creeps up in your garden. So then you have to go back out, you've got to pull that weed out to make sure that you have nothing but perfect intent in your garden.
So are you saying that you never had even a millisecond of doubt, or if you did feel any doubt starting to creep in, that's when you paused and did something about it?
Correct. I mean, was there milliseconds of doubt? Sure. I never really told anybody that I played the lottery, or when I played the lottery, I never mentioned that I had a lottery ticket in my pocket, and that's one of the key things to when you're working magic. There's a phrase, to keep silent. It's not just there to protect you. It's there to keep those weeds from growing in your garden of intent. Don't go out there and say to everybody, oh, I just cast a spell for prosperity, or, I just went out and cast a spell to get a new job. Because the minute you do that, people are going to look at you and say things that are going to cause you to doubt your abilities, to doubt what you've done, which is going to make it even harder for you to do.
But I totally hear what you're saying about if you start telling people things, especially if they're things that seem, impossible or very difficult to achieve, that telling other people could open the doors for them to, ridicule you, or even just to say, it's not going to happen, whatever. But it's a lot, it kind of takes away the I told you so factor when you do win.
Well, yes, but also it kind of doesn't, because once you do, you can then say, hey, you know what, on this day I did this, and this is what's come of it. But the hardest part of that is also, because even today, I can't really say what thing I did that allowed the universe to bless us in such a way. You know, there's no way for me to actually pinpoint that one pinnacle moment. You know, was it the spell I cast 20 years ago? Was it what I said in the coffee shop? You know, was it some offhand something? You know, was it all the prayers that I've received over the years from, you know, my mother and her church and her church members who always prayed for me every Sunday? I don't know what it was. I don't know what point, you know, what was that one point? Or was it all of that that caused it to occur? I don't know.
Just before we get back into this, we have about 15 minutes left in the show, and I want to let you know that Scotty's Scenic Drive is coming up at 10 o'clock. Lots of ska music coming your way on CITR, so stick around for that. Right now, you're listening to Synchronicity. If you want to get on the air, the number is 604-822-2487. We're talking with Bunky Bartlett, who is a Wiccan priest who attributes his gigantic lottery win to his faith in Wicca, or at least some part of it. I'm hearing you say that you're not exactly sure what aspect or whether it was a combination of things that really was the catalyst for you winning the lottery. And I'm wondering, have you taken time to ask the gods or your inner being or whatever it is that you speak to what it was?
I have, and that's the strange thing. Is I've asked, and pretty much the answer I've gotten is basically look into yourself. So that to me basically says it's pretty much everything I've done throughout my life.
And I think it's also the things that you're continuing to do, like what we talked about a while ago, how something that this life-changing can change a person and change their path in life. And it sounds like you are following through with the things that you always planned to do with the money and with the freedom. And so, I mean, no one knows necessarily before something like this happens, but the universe does what kind of person you are and whether you're going to follow through with those things.
Right. And I hope that, you know, and I didn't know for sure myself, really. You know, because once we won, it was a big ride, and things were happening and occurring, and I had to finally say, oh, okay, no, wait, now we have to slow down, we have to stop, because I've got things I need to do. And, you know, I really had to put it out there and say, okay, guys, this is it, we're done. You know, at some point I finally said, okay, we're not really doing it, 20 interviews a day anymore. It's, once in a while is fine, but I've got other things I have to do. Well, and I didn't really know that I would actually focus and do that. But, I've always been one to keep my word and to go forward with things. So maybe the universe knew that I would, and I'm glad that I did. Well,
I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to talk with us here. Since you aren't doing a lot of interviews anymore, so I really appreciate your time, and I know the listeners do. If you have a question and you want to get on the air to ask Bunky something about Wicca or his lottery win, the number to call is 604-822-2487. Just a few minutes left in the show. You can also email spiritualshow@gmail.com, and I'll pass that question along. And you mentioned, I want to talk a little bit more about your magical teachings. You mentioned that you're teaching a spiritual alchemy class. And I'm wondering, do you do any online teaching, or how would that work?
I've actually started thinking about that. I actually have a video production company that I just started up. And I'm thinking of televising some of the classes and workshops that I'm doing over the internet.
Fun.
So that could be coming down the line shortly. I'm also looking at doing sort of similar to what you guys have. I'm going to be possibly doing a internet talk radio show on spiritual matters, and also do live video feeds through that.
Fun.
So I'm trying to take it actually to the next level.
Beautiful. Well, it sounds like you're pretty good at setting intentions and having them manifest. So we'll see. Maybe might start out as a small little website, but I'm sure with your success, it'll become gigantic. So.